Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. In the 27th of the four-way series of videos, we made a glasses stand. And in fact, I made three. And here you see two of them. Now in this video, you're going to see me make this one, which is end grain. And in this, I had a lot of design issues to sort out. And you'll see some quite interesting ways of getting around those, but I think I've ended up with a pretty nice quirky little shape. And then in the next video which goes up, you'll see my cross-grained version, which went much more smoothly, having learnt the problems in this one. So I think they're an interesting pair of videos, which I hope you'll all enjoy. And so we'll get on with this one. And if you want to see that, that will be up 3 days after this. This is a block of cedar. It's 4.5, somewhere between 4.5 and 5 inches square, around 120mm. Ideally you would start with this all nice and square. So I suppose you could go and buy a piece of square material this size. I have drilled a hole on the drill press, which has gone straight through, as near square to one face, I think it was this face, as I could manage. I've eyeballed where I reckon the centre of the holes are, and so that's going to be my centre between these, I hope on that line, and I'm going to try and line up these holes so they're at right angles to the lathe axis. So first thing is just going to be to get this thing round, and I've eyeballed centre on the other end. So between centres, just slam that in to start with and then get it on centre. Need a longer rest, but not too long a rest, just as long as the blank, that's all that's necessary. And I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch continental gouge for this. Start slow. And so I'm running at 1000. A bit nearer to get the corners off anyway. Now begin to see roughly how the corners sit. So find the edge of the hole. It really isn't too bad. If anything, you can go very slightly that way, which is just very slightly to the side of the hole, and as you go in, it kind of squeezes some timber back towards into the hole. So I'm okay with that. I'll get this round. Up to 1300 now. Should be a few chisel exercise. It's a large diameter. I am at least 20 mil, 3/4 of an inch above centre with the rest. Right, now I can check my hole more accurately. Ooh, moved it too far. Got to go that way. Now this could get tricky with my head getting in the way. Right, that looks correct now. Screw this up again. And just need to true up the end grain. I usually do this with a 3/8 spindle gouge. Got the tool rest at an angle because when I finished in there, I'm not hanging over the rest so far. And same the other end. Right, so the grain's picking up a little bit there because it's going all over the place. A little bit of bark there which I can probably keep. Little flat areas up there, so in fact the whole thing does need to come down a fraction. Rest up again. And because of the grain direction there, probably best to cut in that direction. Yes, except that it's still picking up there. Right, so I shall now round over the top. What comes to hand is a 3/8 bowl gouge. Now the next thing is to establish a position for the nose, which needs to be halfway between these two and slightly lower. 35 millimeters low will be the center of the next hole. We now go to the drill press. So now I want to get a hole for the nose up here in between these 2 points, and the way I'm going to do that is I I've got this block set in a V groove. This is not 100% accurate, but it's going to be good enough for this exercise. So I want to get this horizontal. This is the knockout bar from the lathe, or one of them. And I have 140 millimeters, 144, so if this comes up to almost prepare. Trust my eye. Now I think it'll be okay, and I'm going to drill a hole pretty well where it is, in fact. And that has gone in very slightly on the skew by the look of it, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. Right, I've just discovered I haven't turned the hadn't pressed the camera button, hadn't done the camera on when I turned this end round to fit the jaws, so I'm now on the other end. Grain's going along at an angle to the axis, so it's not ideal for any kind of centre work, but it will be fine for this, what I'm going to do with it. So this is almost going to be like a little rolling pin exercise, in that I want two ends pretty well the same. So this is going to be supporting the arms of the glasses, and in the middle I'm going to have a dowel which will go into the hole in the block, in the head, so to speak. And I have set the calipers to the size of the drill bit. Got rounded jaws so that I can just press them over. That's what fits, and then I can use a skew for a peeling cut. So how much will I need? That is the big question. So I want this edge to guide the glasses towards the middle. We'll start to cut in the other end. I will start to cut in the other end. Concentrate. So I got away with that, much the same size. So, let's bring this down. Did the other with the gouge, so I should do this one with the gouge. I've got a flat area on top. Maybe not. almost forgot to sand. 240 grit. Broken. Right. Now you get to see what we do in that case. You shove it between centres. Bit of non-slip cloth. So that gets cut in half and we'll go into the ears. What's going to be done on the lathe? Possibly still can be. That will now break. So when I got here, I had a little trial nose, and I could already see that it's not in the center where it should be. And when I put the glasses on, I could see it's completely hopeless. I'd probably could probably actually dump glasses quite effectively there, but I'd rather have them up at that angle. So I've really got to have a disc in there centered pretty well in the middle of that little mass. So I'll go and drill that. Second time round I use something which is a lot more accurate, which is a vice device, parallel jaws and so on, so that will keep the thing nicely horizontal. And then I can line the ears up as well. They look pretty good, and bring that back to there. And this time I'd like to see the 2 points coming straight onto the wood, drilling an more accurate hole. Not quite as good as it could be, I suspect, but anyway, I'll drill it a bit deeper too. So got a bit more to play with, and then I'll aim to cut that off. So this will be a very small head poking up out of the desk. So what I'm aiming to do now is remove the lower hole, in fact cut this off, and that will leave me with a shorter glasses support stand, which is probably a good thing. I've got the largest chuck I can to grip this. There will be the 8 teeth marks. They can come off later. I've taken the high edge of this hole and put a line round it. So I'm going to cut in on that line, and then I'm going to make a recess in the bottom into which I can expand the chuck. First thing is to turn this slightly concave so it sits on its rim. 1/2 inch spindle gouge. A 1/2 inch square inch scraper, rest comes up so that only the top left edge is in contact with the wood. I have no idea why I made it that deep anyway. So this will go right over the jaws with no problem. Let's come in with the skew on its side just to undercut that. And I will sand all that. It could be slightly better, I suppose, but it's on the underside. Well, I was going to put it down so it just rests on the top of the jaws, but it looks as though it's just going to have to go over the dovetail at the end. Fine. Now one advantage of this is that I can now do the whole of the outside, and I will redo the dome. Could leave them with a little peak. Take it right off. Little ridge there. And I think I'll just curve it in slightly the other way too. Well, there's a hole making that noise. Forgotten about that. Yep, good. I can go over it again if I need to with oil once everything's glued together. So that's the kind of head done. Now I need a nose. So I've got a block. I've had the end in the chuck. Forgot to start the camera, so it was turned to fit into here. Now we carry on. Don't need that much rest. Be a bit smaller than that. this with the parting tool, which I've got a beading and parting tool, which is really what this is meant for. I think I've gone too far. Oh, exactly right. Hesitating because I'm just wondering about how to treat the end of that. Of course, a flat surface going into round doesn't look very good, so I'll just round this over. So it's now looking like a little bell. I'm going to have to cut the bottom part off this, probably because the hole is not high enough to accommodate all of that diameter. Take that off with a small parting tool, a narrow parting tool. I then discover that the tenon doesn't fit the hole, but fortune is smiling on me now because this will fit in the little dovetailed here almost exactly. Not almost exactly, exactly. So all I have to do is turn that off without having a catch. And I suppose I can make a decent job of the end as well. Now, rather than cut off its nose to spite its face, I thought I would just round this over and make a little plinth for it. So we're back to the skew chisel. There's a lot of wax in this wood. Coming in. Now you will remember that I cut the bottom off here to get rid of the hole. And so this will be my plinth, and I'm going to make another recess like this at the bottom. A little bit big, doesn't matter. Rest up. So starting to build up wax in the new rag. Start off measuring this. Not in sight, I'm afraid. I want a tenon here which fits into the hole I've just measured. I don't mind if that's a bit rough, because I feel that probably helps the glue. Now, I've still got this as a slight taper, so when that goes on, that is where it fits. Now I'm going to have a curve, so it's going to be a shoulder, pitching that probably to about there. I'm going to have to think of this in reverse, which I'm not very good at. Yes, I'm going to undercut this a bit more, and the aim is to have this portion rounded over, sitting on about here. Skew to get in there. So I've got my angle about right, and this is now long. Right, so that curve fits that curve. And I'm going to bring all this down in size. Looks wonderful, except for a teeny bit which is chipped out there. Feels as if it's gone. It still looks fine. This can come down. And so now I'm starting to look at the overall shape. I think this can be more of a neck. So here we are with the base. This is the dry run. That fits onto there. The ears are in. I sanded off the nose. There, and some glasses do go on. Does it need some eyes? Tempting, but I don't think so. I think Mark II will have a shorter nose and a wider head. Well, the original nose here just seemed to stick out a bit too much, so I made a smaller one. I thought I'd try some eyes. And no, I'm not at all sure about the eyes. The eyes do not have it.